Hello, everyone, and welcome to Backchat. Welcome to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community. I'm Christine Jaregi Berry, and if this is your first time here, we are talking about yoga and we are talking about scoliosis. So I am a yoga teacher. I have scoliosis myself, and I've been working with people that have scoliosis for many, many years. So sharing what I know, sharing what I've learned over the years, and this is a fabulous community as well. So everyone is always really, really supportive. Make sure you ask your questions, of course. And today I'm actually going to be answering some questions from the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, then make sure that you do. It's free, of course. It's called Yoga for Scoliosis Community by Yoga Berry, if you want to go and find it. And if you are here live right now, thank you so much. And let me know if you can hear me okay, just to make sure that all the tech is working all right. And what we're going to do today is kind of like an open Q&A session. So if you are here live, you've got priority. You can ask your questions. And otherwise, I'm going to go through the millions of questions. No, don't worry, not millions of them. But I'm going to go through some of the questions that people have been asking in the Facebook group, and hopefully clarifying a few things for you. But before I go into that, I just wanted to say a warm welcome to Alice, who has just joined the Shine membership. So welcome, Alice. So glad to have you in the group. Hope you can make it soon to one of the live practices. And yeah, for those of you who are in Shine, we've got a fabulous guest workshop on Saturday, which is the lovely Abby Kraai, and you might know her as Abby with the Rods on Instagram. She has got a long spinal fusion, so she's had like proper surgeries for scoliosis, and she's a great yoga teacher, yoga practitioner. So she's going to share some of her flow practices with us, and this is something that, you know, those of you who have been coming to my classes, they tend to be a little bit more gentle, they tend to be slower, so she's going to speed it up a little bit and bringing in her style, and obviously with giving us some tips as well for those of you who are practicing with a long fusion as well, so always a little bit more difficult. So if you're not a Shine member, you can still join the workshop. You just have to be a Shine member for a month. You can always cancel after the month if you want to. But during that time, you get all the access to all the practices that are on there, all the guest workshops. So you can make the most of that. So the link for that is in the description below. Again, Saturday, it's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. my time, which is London time, is the workshop with Abby. So that's my little bit of announcement before I get into it. So again, if you are here live, just let me know if you can hear me okay, if everything is working all right. Seems to be, as I can see Laura saying hello from Buenos Aires. And I'm going to start with Christine, and this is not me, Christine, another Christine, asking about using a yoga trapeze. And I know that a number of you are always interested in knowing about this. And if you're not sure what a yoga trapeze is, there's different terms for it. So in Iyengar yoga, they use ropes, they use a pelvic sling. In aerial yoga, it comes up with the kind of, again, not quite ropes. What are they called? Yeah, anyway, like bands hanging off. But the purpose of this thing is basically to hang yourself upside down. And Christina's asking, she's saying, has anyone had success relieving pain by using a yoga trapeze or another type of device that allows for inversion? I have a moderate S-curve, lumbar curve is approximately 48 degrees. So I would classify this even as a severe curvature. But yeah, so she's asking, is this a good idea? Can it help with pain? And I think these are kind of two different questions probably. So I have like personally, in general, I love being upside down. I find it quite invigorating. I find it really energizing. I love trying out new things, and you know, I think it's fun, right? And I'm just telling you, you might be asking, well, why are you telling me this, that you find it fun? It's always about what is your intention and why are you doing these things, right? So if Christine is asking me about pain relief, to relieve pain, my first instinct would probably not be the one to hang myself upside down. However, I am not in her body, so maybe she finds this super beneficial and she really enjoys it. And fun in itself can be really important in terms of pain relief. So just think about something fun, or an activity that you find fun. It's very difficult to be experiencing chronic pain while you're having fun. So this is just something to say about that. In general, is this a good idea? I usually say that if you are of a body type that is hypermobile, so are not kind of super strong and maybe lacking some stability in the body, then I don't think hanging is a good idea, because you are just putting a lot of pressure onto the joints. However, if you're generally a person who's very, very strong and well supported, then this can be absolutely great, and it could be really, really beneficial. And having said this as well about traction, so creating traction and length in the spine is really, really beneficial for scoliosis, because as we know what's happening with our scoliosis and with that muscle imbalance, with that spinal imbalance, the spine kind of being pulled over to one side, maybe over to the other side, lower down or higher up with the compensation. There is a tendency for tight and short muscles to become even shorter, even tighter, so pulling you further into your scoliosis. And this is because of gravity, right? So because we live on planet Earth and there is gravity, to that extent of what we experience, if we are on our feet all day, if we are upright or not on our feet, just sitting, we are still subjected to the forces of gravity, which will pull us further into our scoliosis, especially if we don't have a way of resetting. So if you turn yourself upside down, and having some traction there can be good. It can be really, really beneficial. But as I said, for the right person at the right time. So again, if you're mainly doing it for pain relief, I would not go into like a full-on Iyengar sling or rope or anything like this and be completely upside down. I would probably kind of look at maybe an inversion table or something that is a little bit more gradual, right? So inversion tables, you can control a little bit better. So you're not completely fully upside down, but maybe just slightly upside down. So lots of people have found this great, beneficial. I think you either love it or hate it, and you kind of will probably know if this is for you or not. Again, with hypermobility, people who are not super strong, I would probably advise to stay away from it unless you've built up to the strength to support your joints in this position. Hi, Sue. Thanks for joining me. So I am just taking questions from the Facebook group today, but if you are here live and you've got questions, then you do absolutely have priority. Good. So we've got another day in paradise. Love it. I used to be able to hang out, but now have to get relief from laying over a large exercise ball. Yes, and thank you for pointing this out. So there are other ways of doing an inversion and getting relief. So I love, and I'm sure I've got some, if I haven't got it on Instagram, I need to make a post about this. It's not on Instagram. So let me do a post right after this. A downward dog is an inversion, right? And if we do the downward dog with the belt around the door, around the doorknobs, for example, or if you are in an Iyengar yoga studio and you're using the ropes, that is great traction, but you have your hands to support yourself there. You're not free hanging. So that's my slight problem with the completely free hanging. And it could be quite nice for a little bit, but yeah, it's not something I would do all the time. And yes, so there's definitely other ways. And I like this suggestion of a large exercise ball as well. You can hang over there. That's, that sounds delicious to me. There's other ways of doing this without being in a completely full-on inverted position, hanging like a monkey from a tree. That gives us a little bit more support and a little bit more stability. Good. So another day in paradise is saying, what I miss from hanging is that on inversion table I was able to work the costral converse area. Okay, you're gonna have to clarify this a little bit more. So an inversion table, again, as I said, you have more control, right? You can, maybe that's what you're saying, you can control different areas maybe that you want to access a little bit more, that you want to lengthen a little bit more. If you are just hanging upside down with a rope, it's much harder to control, basically. Good. So let me move on to the next question, unless you've got something else you want to add this. And I'm just looking at all the lovely pictures that people have been posting in the Facebook group, and my assistant Phoebe is always she's posting the introduction or the welcome post, and there's always really cute images of animals doing yoga. So I do love that. Okay, so you're saying between the ribs. Okay, intercostals. Yes, that's what I would call them. Yes, I agree. So with an inversion table, you probably have a little bit more access there. Good. So let me get to the next question, which was from Amina. And Amina is saying, hello, everyone. I'm 18. I got diagnosed with scoliosis about a year ago, but my back pain started when I was about 11 or 12. I feel like my posture kind of manifested into my scoliosis. Sometimes the pain gets so uncomfortable that it pinches. My curve is like my upper mid back. I know it doesn't look like a lot, and she's posted a photo of her x-ray. But trust me, I don't know what life is like without back pain. Do you guys have any advice on something that would help? Thank you so much, Amina, for your question. And I think a lot of people in the group can absolutely empathize with this. I certainly can. So my back pain started when I was a teenager as well. So I can relate to this. And I know what it's like when people kind of dismiss you and say, well, there's nothing, there's nothing we can do. So kind of just get on with it. And I also, what I do want to say about this is the amount of curvature is not directly linked to the amount of pain that people experience. So there is no correlation. There's no direct correlation. It doesn't mean the more curvature you've got that you've got more pain. And very often it's the mild cases that actually cause more problems. I'm not sure why that is, but I've seen it many, many times. I've also seen that lumbar curves tend to cause more problems than thoracic curves, even though thoracic curvatures are more visible. In terms of pain, it seems to be the other way around, that the lumbar curves actually cause more pain because they're closer to the pelvis, of course, and then there can be other imbalances as well. So that's the first thing to say to this, Amina. So don't worry. It's absolutely valid what you're experiencing and what you're feeling. It doesn't matter what it looks like to other people, so do not worry about that. In terms of what to do about the back pain, I'm hoping that some of the videos that I post on YouTube, the practice videos, are helpful, are helping you. There's a number of things that you can do. I would start with some breathing practices. I would start with possibly some relaxation. And this is just the way that I work. I feel like before we start kind of strengthening and building up all the resilience, which is really important, we kind of need to address what is there right now. And if there is pain, I always start with releasing first, and maybe some gentle movements, maybe some gentle releasing. But there's, other than yoga, of course, there's plenty of other things that you can do. You can try heat, of course. You can just try kind of walking and see that what helps there. I would also try to, and I wish I had done this earlier. I wish I had done this as a teenager. Start to kind of have a diary on and notice when the pain is coming, and noticing maybe what the pain is trying to tell you. There might be some hidden messages there, right? And we sometimes were very quick at linking pain to a certain thing, an event, an injury. Obviously, if you've broken your arm, it's fairly obvious why you've got pain. But sometimes you've got pain that is persistent, that hasn't got a kind of a direct link or cause, and then we create this link and this kind of connection in our brain. But just considering that it might not be that, it might be something else. So just some questions to ask yourself. When does it appear? When is it getting worse? What do you do to make it better? Because I'm sure, Amina, that you already have lots of tools. You already probably know lots of things that make it better. And it's kind of about paying attention to some of these things. So I'm hoping that this is useful to you, Amina. Thank you for your question. So I'm going to move on to Fiona. Where is she? I had so many questions in there. Okay, so this is a longer one as well. And again, if you are here live, feel free to type into the chat if there's anything you've got to add, of course, or if there's anything you want to ask. So Fiona is saying, I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 16. I'm 40 years old now. I was told when I was 16 that scoliosis had nothing to do with my back pain and it was mild. Kind of confirming what I just said before, right? That this is often what you're told, and this is very, I get a little bit annoyed when people say that. I do still think that scoliosis does have something to do with pain. I'm not saying that it's not linked at all. And I think when you are experiencing pain, it is valid, so it needs to be addressed. So just telling someone it's got nothing to do with scoliosis is not very helpful, right? So fast forward 10 or so years, I sought advice from a physio who gave me exercises, but nothing helped my pain. I was told it was something I would have to live with. I'm now 40, getting stiffer, etc. Would you guys recommend seeing a physio again or a chiropractor? Not sure where to go and what to do. At 16, I wasn't given any information about scoliosis, and I've just dealt with it on my own for all these years. It's a lower back curve, no idea of degree or side, but no, I have one leg longer than the other and my shoulders are uneven. Fed up with the ache, numbness, and sciatica. Help. So again, Fiona, I think that a lot of people in the group, in this community, can empathize with this, absolutely. And yeah, sometimes the information is really not enough, right? When you go and see a health professional and they say, well, there's nothing we can do, but maybe there's something I can do. I don't mean like me, but you yourself, right? Is there something that you can do about it to make this better? And we do know that scoliosis doesn't go away, at least the structural scoliosis. We will be living with it. And yes, you can maybe reduce it to a certain extent, but the spine will not be straight. If there is a structural scoliosis, there will be always a scoliotic pattern there. So it is about living with it, and it is about learning how to move well, how to sit well, how to feel well, and what you can do to reset, to rebalance. Again, I talked about this in the beginning with the kind of effects that gravity has on the body, to reset all of this and make sure that we are as comfortable as possible and that we are well now. And Fiona is saying she's 40 now, and we hope that she is well and can move well when she's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? So that is really the goal. And yes, I can imagine that you're fed up with numbness is always a red flag, and something that does need to be addressed. So I would look at some other health practitioners if they haven't if they haven't quite found what the problem is. And numbness usually has something to do with nerves. Well, it's kind of the last stage of nerve problems. So numbness is not good. So I would definitely get that checked out. That can come for a number of things. Very often it's linked to the spine. So it might well be that there's something pressing on the nerves, which go along the spine, of course. So make sure you find someone who can help you with that. And I'm looking in that direction because that's why my question is. And you were asking, is it a physio or chiropractor? And in my experience, this is very difficult, and it depends on which country you are in, of course, and what sort of education they've got. So I've come across really bad chiropractors, and I've come across really good chiropractors. Same with physios, same with osteopaths. They do have different approaches. So my go-to personally is usually an osteopath, but that is here in the UK, and I know that they are very different in America, for example. But this is who I would personally see, and I thankfully have got a very good osteopath who's brilliant, and who always sorts me out when I've got a problem. Chiropractor, I don't know. I feel like, again, if you have someone who's really knowledgeable and who knows about scoliosis and all of that, you can be in luck there and find someone who can really help you. But it might be that you need a little bit more. Good. Kate is asking, will there be a next live? Will there be someone else to talk to? I'm not going to take this personally, Kate. So I do have interview guests, yes. And next week I'm going to be talking to one of my Shine members. So she's going to tell us about her scoliosis journey. And she's got a daughter as well who has got scoliosis herself. So we're going to have a chat. And then the week after, we've got Adeline Chung, who is a fabulous yoga teacher. And she is going to share her thoughts on yoga and scoliosis as well. So yes, there are a few other people that are lined up. But if there is anyone that you would like to see, of course, on Backchat, then do feel free to let me know. Okay, Devika is saying, I'm 21. Is there a chance to cure scoliosis by using a brace? So at 21, I'm going to, without me being a doctor, disclaimer here, a yoga teacher, even though I have been working with scoliosis for a very long time, I'm going to say no here. especially if this is a structural scoliosis. So a brace can be super useful if the patient or the person who needs the treatment is still growing. So that's what the brace is usually used for. And they actually, for teenagers, they usually stop bracing once the kids are not growing anymore. So I feel at 21, I don't know how much correction that brace would actually give you. So I would question that, and maybe asking why you've been suggested a brace. So again, sometimes, you know, again, there might be a reason why your health professional might have suggested this, but it's very rare that braces are given to adults. So they're usually given to kids who are still growing, and where there's a chance that while they grow into that, you know, with the brace, that the scoliosis is corrected along the way. Good. Diagnosed as a teen, currently late 50s, also have extra lumbar ELIS, Danlos, RA, etc. Fell in 2017 and have not been able to get back to my previous activity level. Yeah, this is difficult, right? And sometimes if we have an injury, or if something happened, and you know, we all have lives, obviously, of course, it can be very difficult. And I'm just thinking about some of my clients who have had children, you know, and you know, cesareans and things like that. It can sometimes be taking a very, very long time to get back to yourself, but I would not give up hope at all. So, you know, 50, you're still young. I'm going to say you're still young. Things can get better, and I do have people that I work with in their 70s and 80s, and they've made enormous improvements. So I would say it's never too late. And yes, it's very difficult sometimes, but it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. So let's kind of be hopeful. And I find especially people in kind of my age, and 40s and 50s, who kind of are almost worse off than people in their 70s and 80s. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, and if you've experienced that, but very often I'm just super impressed with the ones in their 70s and 80s, and how they kind of managed, and maybe they have gone through some difficult times, but they picked themselves up, and they dedicated some time to themselves, and maybe slowed down a little bit. But very often they are in much better shape than the younger ones. Isn't that interesting, right? Good. So Fiona, I'm hoping that I've sort of answered your question. So again, me personally, I would go to an osteopath, but again, that depends on the country that you're in, and maybe, you know, ask around and see if people can recommend anyone in your area as well. So it's not so much the exact profession, but I do feel it's the individual, and sometimes you do have to try out a few people before you come across someone who's actually helping you. And yes, numbness, I would definitely get that checked out. Sciatica is a little bit easier to deal with, let's say, but numbness, it would be a red flag for me, and I would, you know, if you were working with me, I would definitely refer you to someone else to get that looked at and to get it sorted. Good, lovely. So let me know, guys, if there's any other questions. Make sure if you want to join us for the flow practice with Abby on Saturday, that you sign up for the Shine membership by Friday evening, just to make sure you get all the links and all the information that you need to join the practice. She has got a full spinal fusion herself. She is a fabulous yoga teacher. She's got a very impressive practice, and she's going to give us a little bit of a different perspective as well, from someone who had spinal surgery, went through the recovery and all of that, and doesn't have a huge amount of flexibility in her spine, and how she's still able to practice, and how she's able to teach, and how she's able to go to regular yoga classes, but maybe considering some other ways of moving. And I think this is really, really relevant also if you haven't had if you haven't had spinal fusion, because all the movements that she does are kind of will be with respect to the structure and to keeping the back and the spine neutral and supported. And I think this is something that we without spinal fusions are not so good at, because we don't have to pay attention to this, right? Because we have the flexibility and we have the bendiness. There's much more room for being in our scoliosis pattern and kind of collapsing into it. So if you have a fusion surgery, you will not have this freedom. And yeah, you can obviously see this as a positive and as a negative, but I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from someone who is kind of restricted in that way. Good. Another Day in Paradise is saying, this is perfect. I've been approved for fusion thoracic through lumbar and I'm terrified. Right. So this session is going to be for you. So Abby does have a long fusion. So sometimes there are differences between the different fusions. And obviously, if you have a lumbar fusion, again, this is still going to be relevant for you, because there will be things that you have to be careful with. But especially if you're going to be fused the whole length of the spine, you're going to be practicing differently. And there will be things that you need to kind of relearn and that you need to do differently than somebody who doesn't have a fusion. So I hope that you can join us for the practice. Again, if you're not a member, don't worry, you can just sign up for the membership, just enjoy all the benefits for a month, and then just make sure that you cancel before it's being renewed. Or obviously we love to have you as a member. We've got a weekly practice just before this chat, so at 2 p.m. my time. We've got all kinds of guest workshops, obviously, like this one, and there are plenty of longer practice ad-free videos in the membership as well, specific, and I always create the content according to what people are asking for, because yeah, I can be sharing my practice, but at the end of the day I want to make sure that I create things that are relevant. Good, lovely. So Lauren is saying, just signed on and heard you talking about the numbness. I had an issue with numbness, which became a very excruciating sciatica issue. Orthopedist and physical therapist both recommended Mackenzie. Yeah, Mackenzie, yes. So Mackenzie has been around for a long time, and it's a lot of back extensions and things like that, which can be helpful, but it depends on where it's coming from. So this sounds to me like a bulging disc issues, and then a lot of times those sort of Mackenzie exercises are recommended. But it's very important, again, that you have to that you really get to the root of this, right, before you do. Numbness, again, it's kind of a no for me, and I would always really get to the bottom of this. Okay, so move with, which is extreme flexion. This ended up exacerbating it. Anyone she goes to should be an expert in scoliosis as well. Yes, so this is a recommendation, right, to the numbness question. Absolutely, I agree. So yeah, thank you, Lauren, for sharing that. I agree. It should be someone who does understand, who's got knowledge of scoliosis. But yeah, Mackenzie is a method, but it's certainly not the only one. And you know that again, you might have to have an MRI or something like that to really get to the bottom of where this is coming from. Right, good. So thank you so much, everyone. Next week, I'm going to chat with the lovely Karen, who's one of our Shine members, and talking about her. So she's got a severe thoracolumbar curve, and her daughter also has scoliosis. So it's going to be really interesting to get her thoughts as both a scoliosis sufferer herself and then having a child who's got scoliosis as well. So hopefully you can tune into that maybe, or you can always check out the replay afterwards. Hopefully I see some of you on Saturday for the workshop with Abby, and otherwise see you soon. Bye everyone.